In tonight's headlines, British national suspected of spying for Hong Kong found dead in a park near London. Chief Executive John Lee says the SAR has a clean and efficient government with zero tolerance for corruption. And Ireland, Norway and Spain will recognize a Palestinian state starting next week. One of the three men charged with assisting Hong Kong authorities to gather intelligence in the UK, Matthew Trickett, was found dead in a park in southern England on Sunday evening. The police received a call from a member of the public and found a 37-year-old man in Grenfell Park in Maidenhead. He was pronounced dead at the scene. The cause of death is under investigation and is currently being treated as unexplained, which means there are not yet anything suspicious or pointing to homicide. A post-mortem will be conducted in due course. Trickett, who was a former Royal Marine with a private security firm, was charged along with Wei Chi Leung and Yun Chung Biu, an office manager at the Hong Kong Economic and Trade Office in London, under the National Security Act for assisting the Hong Kong Intelligence Service and engaging in foreign interference. The three attended an initial hearing at Westminster Magistrates Court last Monday and were granted bail. The court was told that while in custody, Trickett had attempted to take his own life and said once he is released, he is going to kill himself because he has nothing to live for. They are due to appear at the Central Criminal Court coming Friday. Hong Kong's Financial Minister Paul Chan said the SAR government will not make any comments in response to the death of Trickett. Acting Secretary for Commerce and Economic Development, Bernard Chan, reiterated that the overseas trade offices will continue to perform their duties without fears and bias. Anna Chan, Cable News.
3, 2, 1.
Hong Kong is at the forefront of the international fight against corruption, Chief Executive John Lee said, and that the government has zero tolerance for corruption. In his opening address at an anti-corruption symposium, the city's chief cited that the SAR had proven its success in tackling corruption.
Under the unique one country, two systems principle, Hong Kong maintains a robust regulatory regime in line with international standards and is renowned globally for its clean and efficient government, level playing field for doing business, sound rule of law, a judiciary with independent judicial power, and zero tolerance for corruption. International surveys consistently confirm Hong Kong's success in tackling corruption. The World Justice Project rated us 9th overall in absence of corruption out of more than 140 jurisdictions in 2023. Similarly, Hong Kong was ranked the 14th out of 180 countries and territories in Transparency International's Corruption Perceptions Index last year. These and other standings underscore Hong Kong's clean governance.
At the same symposium, Chief Justice Andrew Cheung said corruption will destruct the rule of law in a society.
Without a culture of anti-corruption and values against accepting advantages, it is quite certain that there can be no rule of law. Corruption is diametrically opposed to the rule of law in a society. Whereas the rule of law requires that all persons and institutions are governed by and accountable to the same rules and standards, and that nobody is above the law. Corruption is the misuse of power that leads to some not being subject to or held accountable under the same rules.
The government warned that the city's only undergraduate dentistry program could be removed from the accredited list by the Dental Council if an amendment bill requiring students to attend a one-year internship is not passed. The Health Bureau revealed that the present graduates from the program are lack of clinical experience due to the course's structural problems, which still exist after the profession's watchdog requested for amendments on 3 occasions over the past decade. Medical and health sector lawmaker David Lam said that it's a serious problem for both the government and the students.
有條件認可課程上面啦，咁有條件認可就相當之大件事，即係隨時可以剔除。剔除嘅時候咧，你就唔再係呢個認可課程，咁即係話你畢業嘅牙科醫生咧，香港就冇嗰個法定嘅權力咧，即刻註冊做個牙醫。
For the government, the timeline explains why it's so urgent to address this issue, as revocation seems to be looming if no action is taken to improve the deficiencies in the program, Lam said. That said, from the Dental Council's perspective, all issues can be resolved at the university level initially, and the additional licensing exam will not make much difference, as what really matters is the clinical experience, according to Lam. He also noted that the HKU perhaps need to consider shortening the program duration so that students can graduate earlier and undergo a clinical internship before taking up a post. The government has stated multiple times that it's urgent to amend the existing dentist registration bill. This would mandate local dental graduates from 2024 onwards to complete a 1-year internship in the public healthcare system. Quentin Yang, Cable News.
Today, Ireland, Norway, and Spain are announcing that we recognise the state of Palestine. We do so because we believe in freedom and justice as the fundamental principles of international law.
Amid rising regional tensions in the Middle East, 3 European countries will recognize a Palestinian state on 28th of May in a historic move, in hope of de-escalate Israeli-Palestinian conflict through a 2-state solution. Speaking to Congress, Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez said the time has come to move from words to action, and that a 2-state solution is the only just and sustainable solution to the terrible conflict. While Norway stressed that the recognition is a crucial element of the peace process, more countries are expected to follow suit in the coming weeks. In response, Israel immediately recalled its ambassadors from Ireland and Norway, emphasizing that Israel will not remain silent in the face of those undermining its sovereignty and endangering its security. It also warned of similar steps against Spain. On the other hand, Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas welcomed the move, which he said will enshrine the Palestinian people's right to self-determination. 143 out of 193 member states of the United Nations have recognized a Palestinian state. The latest addition may spur further steps at the United Nations, deepening Israel's isolation, therefore more pressure on Israel to open negotiations on ending the war. Oslo Accords were signed in 1993, which started a peace process aimed at achieving a peace treaty between Israel and Palestine, with the desired goal of the 2-state solution. However, it is still to be realized after more than 3 decades. Anna Chan, Cable News.
A relief aircraft carrying 131 passengers and 12 crew members who were on board a Singapore Airlines flight which was badly hit by turbulence arrived at Changi Airport in the city-state early this morning. Another 79 passengers and 6 crew members who were on the same flight are still in the Thai capital Bangkok, where the Boeing 777-300ER made an emergency landing yesterday afternoon. Authorities at the Suvarnabhumi airport in Bangkok confirmed the death of 73-year-old British national Jeff Kitchen, who died of a suspected heart attack during the turbulence. Of the 70 people who were taken to hospital for treatment, 7 are in critical condition. Flight SQ-321, carrying 211 passengers and 18 crew, was cruising at 37,000 feet, heading from London to Singapore, when it encountered extreme turbulence while flying over Myanmar. The aircraft plunged several thousand feet within minutes before gaining some altitude again. Because of the sudden drop, passengers and everything else that was unsecured in the cabin went flying. Some did actually hit the ceiling. Those who had their seatbelts on were restrained but could not escape injuries from overhead panels falling onto them. The Transport Ministry of Singapore said they are fully cooperating with relevant authorities. And since the incident involves American aircraft manufacturer Boeing, representatives from the US National Transportation Safety Board will support the investigation. Sachin Katwi, Cable News.
China is considering raising tariffs on certain car imports to counter the European Union's and the United States' trade actions against Chinese-made electric vehicles, according to China Chamber of Commerce to the EU. In a statement, the chamber announced that it had been informed by insiders that China may consider increasing temporary tariff rates on imported cars equipped with large displacement engines. It also mentioned that the tariff raise could be a maximum of 25% and is targeted against the EU and US automakers. The vehicles targeted accounted for about 32% of imported cars in 2023. The cautionary statement raises amidst fraying trade relations between China and Western powers. Last week, the United States announced tariff increase on $180 billion worth of Chinese imported products, including electric vehicles, chips, and batteries. The tariff on electric vehicles was significantly raised from 25% to 100%. Meanwhile, the European Union is also investigating whether Chinese government subsidies to automakers create unfair competition.